Nevada Supreme Court rules that cannabis deserves the same classification as heroin. According to the report by the Las Vegas Review-Journal this week, the Nevada Supreme Court overturned a 2022 ruling that prohibited the Nevada Board of Pharmacy from classifying cannabis as a Schedule I controlled substance. 2022 District Judge Joe Hardy Jr. of Clark County ruled in favor of the American Civil Liberties Union of Nevada after the latter's medical marijuana claims were deemed valid. Lawsuit filed by Antoine Poole and the Cannabis Equity and Inclusion Community Organization, with representation from the ACLU, claimed that the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy failed to honor Nevada's voters after the Nevada Medical Marijuana Act was passed in 2000 and the initiative to regulate and tax marijuana in 2016. Board of Pharmacy, which operates within the executive branch and oversees pharmacies, entities that do not distribute cannabis, lacks the authority to grant licenses for marijuana sales or consumption, as noted by Benzinga's Rolando Garcia. Judge Hardy directed the Board of Pharmacy to take cannabis off the Schedule I list, although he did not specify when this would happen. Furthermore, he made it clear that the ACLU's case did not address the question of reversing convictions for crimes involving cannabis, as reported at the time by the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Nevada cannabis saga continues the ongoing process in late November 2022, when the Nevada Board of Pharmacy announced its intention to appeal a ruling regarding cannabis classification. During the spring appeal hearing for the case, Nevada Board of Pharmacy versus CEIC, Justice Chris Pickering highlighted the inconsistency between the Nevada's legislative process and cannabis legalization and its continued classification as a substance with high abuse potential and no recognized medical benefits. Court stated, quote, while the declarations show that Poole and at least one member of CEIC were convicted for marijuana possession after medical marijuana was legalized, there's no direct link between those convictions and the board's classification of cannabis as a Schedule I substance. End quote. Meanwhile, several U.S. lawmakers are pushing Attorney General Merrick Garland and DEA Administrator Ann Milgram to reschedule marijuana, which is contributing to the ongoing media attention surrounding Nevada's cannabis issue. A letter sent to the public last week expressed the senators' support for the request by the DEA to reclassify marijuana from Schedule I to Schedule III under the Controlled Substance Act. ACLU of Nevada has harshly condemned the Nevada Supreme Court's decision to uphold the Nevada Board of Pharmacy's classification of cannabis as a Schedule I controlled substance. ACLU claims that the citizens of Nevada who have consistently shown their support the legalization of cannabis have been blatantly disregarded in this judgment. When they passed the Nevada Medical Marijuana Act in 2000, voters recognized the potential medicinal advantages of cannabis. This was followed by the 2016 initiative to regulate and tax marijuana, which made it legal for recreational use. Even though cannabis is legal in the state, the ACLU contends that the court's decision to classify marijuana with drugs like heroin undercuts the will of the people. ACLU of Nevada's policy director, Holly Wellborn, criticized the court's ruling, claiming it perpetuates harmful and antiquated misconceptions about cannabis. Auburn claims that the ruling ignores Nevada's enormous advancement in the acceptance of marijuana's therapeutic benefits. Cannabis's classification as a Schedule I drug, according to her, is glaringly at odds with voter intent and legislative measures and have expressly recognized its medicinal advantages. Auburn stated, quote, this ruling not only ignores the will of the people, but also perpetuates the stigma surrounding cannabis, which has no place in a state where it is medicinal and used legally, and it is recognized as a recreational substance as well. Continued disagreement between state-level legalization initiatives and federal state agencies' regulations still categorize marijuana as a narcotic with no recognized medicinal value is further brought to light by the ACLU's criticism. Significant difficulties are presented by this classification for patients, medical professionals, and the Nevada legal cannabis market. Additionally, it makes for a complex legal environment when a chemical that one jurisdiction recognizes as a useful substance is regarded as a harmful drug by another state's regulatory system. ACLU contends that this discrepancy is harmful to people who depend on cannabis for medicinal reasons, in addition to being just plain nonsensical. ACLU is also concerned that this decision may have effects that go beyond how cannabis is classified. They contend that by permitting the Board of Pharmacy to keep marijuana classified as a Schedule I drug, the court is establishing a precedent that may obstruct further initiatives to defend and advance the rights of Nevadans who use cannabis. Possible effects on people convicted of cannabis-related felonies are part of the concern for the ACLU, particularly for those convicted after medical marijuana became authorized. Even while the court's ruling did not specify or address the question of overturning such convictions, ACLU thinks that keeping those people in Schedule I make it more challenging for them to receive justice. Nevada Supreme Court's decision to uphold cannabis as a Schedule I controlled substance has reignited tensions between state legalization efforts and outdated federal classifications. Despite Nevada voters legalizing medical and recreational marijuana, the court's ruling contradicts these legislative advances, aligning cannabis with substances like heroin. ACLU of Nevada condemns this decision, arguing it undermines voter intent, perpetuates harmful stigmas, disregards recognized medical benefits of cannabis. This ruling poses significant challenges for patients, healthcare providers, and the legal cannabis market in Nevada. Additionally, the decision raises concerns about the broader implications for those with cannabis-related convictions, especially after the legalization of medical marijuana. As lawmakers push for federal rescheduling, this case highlights the ongoing conflict between state and federal perspectives on cannabis, creating a complex legal environment that hinders progress and justice in the evolving landscape of marijuana regulation. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and what do you guys think about Nevada's Supreme Court decision to just keep this as a Schedule I drug and go against what the voters want? Again,
Nevada, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, 78% of the land in Nevada is federal land, so I'm not surprised by this decision.
I actually think it might work in the benefit of the operators. So, I mean, you know,
they're going to get higher prices?
No, I mean, I think that it just keeps them in the game a little longer, because now it's not a Schedule III. So now not just anybody, not all the research, you know, the universities or like subsequent like companies that work with them that they subcontract that like are a funnel for their PhD, their postgrads or whatever.
But Saman,
you know, they can't do the work.
But Saman, it doesn't. It says that they want to treat it as a Schedule I drug now, which is what it is now. This doesn't say that if the federal government moves as a Schedule III that they won't acknowledge or adhere to that. It doesn't say anything like that.
I think that they're affirming their states' rights. I think that they're saying they're concreting the fact that they're gonna just do what they want to do and not.
You're saying they're putting their feet in the ground and they're holding on to that. We're planting the flag. I
gotta disagree as much as I possibly can, because you know, after last week, Saman, I gotta find a way to not just rubber stamp everything you say. but what I would say is that it doesn't make any sense, right? Because if you're a state program that implicitly is violating federal law and your Board of Pharmacy is already regulating cannabis, irrespective of the fact that it's Schedule I federally, then you can't rely on that federal classification to get your way when you're already violating the federal law by standing up a state compliant cannabis program. So that doesn't make any sense. And saying, well, it's Schedule I is cherry picking when they want federal interference or turbulence or just a pushback against what they're doing on state level. When they asked, and it was ruled in 2002 that it couldn't be classified as Federal I on a Schedule I on a state level. All they were doing was seeking to expand and codify the fact that there was already a state program that was in direct violation of federal law, and that was codified. And then they rolled that back and said, well, the reason why we're rolling it back is because it's still Schedule I federally. Well, it's been Schedule I federally. Every dispensary, every consumption lounge, every cultivator is already violating the federal, right? And so now to say, well, because it's still inconsistent with federal law, we want some of the perceived benefits of that for our regulatory agency. That is a flimsy construct. It's like Jenga thinking, like they're just bolting some stuff on. I don't understand it.
I mean,
I don't understand anything that government does ever. So, I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise to me if this was their motive. But yeah, I mean, look, you have a very plausible argument, Yarrow. So I'll give you that. But like, I mean, I can't say with certainty. So we're gonna have to just agree to disagree.
Oh boy.
I mean, it sounds like a protectionist policy to me, right? Like they're gonna say, you know, whether the federal government rules it back to Schedule III or not, we're gonna position it here. So whether you can still be charged federally or not, we can still charge you as a state, which is protectionist for the operators, right? And I think we've seen throughout Nevada, especially Las Vegas's entire history with their, you know, licensed cannabis program, there's a lot of like money changing hands and back doors, and I would love to see who this is protecting, because I guarantee you this was sponsored by some operators.
I think Jenny is right. You know, I think that there's definitely a chance that that's correct.
I'll say this.
No,
I mean, I'm not. Like I said, I'm not too surprised by any of this, but I do find it interesting that the Supreme Court just basically gave a vote for the trap.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what. Well,
and the Supreme Court also didn't speak to the difference between state and federal law. And the Nevada Supreme Court is not an extension of the federal government. They're part of the state government. But instead of being consistent with that.
The line that they use, though, in regards with that is that they swear an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state and the Constitution of the federal government, and so and then they go into the federal law trumps state law, and so like there's this whole circle jerk that they do in regards to that. So you can't.
They're sidestepping the inherent conflict between state and federal law.
Fair enough. All right, well, we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back.